And you put your hand like this.
I'm ready.
What is it, Mr. Plato?
Are you okay?
This whole Greek thing, I don't buy it.
Greece starts to emerge from the dark ages.
ये तो महाभारत जैसा है.
Yeah, I have the bags packed already.
जी बस पहुंचने वाले हैं। वहाँ पे मौसम भी अच्छा लग रहा है।
कुछ तो बता, क्या दिखाने ले जा रहा है?
आपको पता है, डेल्फी में एक शिवलिंग जैसा स्कल्पचर है। उसका नाम है ओम्फालोस।
क्या? ओम फालोस? तो हम शिवलिंग देखने जा रहे हैं।
स्पार्टन्स की कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन द ग्रेट रेट्रा बनाई थी लिसर्जस ने। वो एक लॉ गिवर था, पर आपको पता है कि उसने कभी उस कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को रिटन फॉर्म में नहीं आने दिया।
तो फिर वो उसे पास ऑन और स्प्रेड कैसे करते थे?
ओह रियली?
अच्छा, तो जस्ट लाइक द वेदास।
You know, the Romans had something like that. I think it was called something like the Mos Maiorum. Oh yeah, it was an ancient code of conduct, heavily based on ancestor worship, and eventually they wrote it down. But that's what laid the foundations of their huge society, basically.
Again, like the Vedas. Can you look up कि according to mainstream वैदिक पीरियड कब से कब तक था?
जी 1500 BC में शुरू हुआ और 600 BC में खत्म हो गया।
Wow, okay.
This is strange. Bharat doesn't appear once in the world events of the 7th century BC. Oh, actually, there is one reference.
अच्छा, क्या रेफरेंस है?
It mentions the age of the Mahajanpads in 600 BC. 16 kingdoms, 2 republics.
Wait, republics? So India already had coordinated governmental structures in 600 BC.
That's 300 years before Alexander the Great and 200 years before Plato wrote something called the Republic.
We are almost there. Bhabiji, please fasten your seatbelt. We're landing soon.
Okay. Behold the remains of greatness.
All right then. Let's explore. Oh,
Who's that?
This is the philosopher Plato.
और Plato किद्दां? So what did he do during his life? Was he one of the guys who, like, set up democracy or something?
Actually, no. He and his teacher were very much against democracy. They advocated for a class-based society led by a noble ruler who would be some kind of philosopher king. Socrates was sentenced to death for saying that kind of stuff.
Okay. What else?
The internet says he built the first ever university in 387 BC. He called it the Academy.
The first university in the West. We already had Takshila much before that, right?
Takshila was founded around 1000 BC.
And it grew into the biggest hub for learning science, mathematics, philosophy, and so many other skills of the world. कितने बाहर के लोग भी तो आते थे. Many foreigners would travel there and then set up their own schools of thought. Can't it be that the Greeks did that too?
It's clear they weren't the first ones to study logic. The Nyaya school of thought had already developed a complex methodology for logic back around 600 BC, at least.
What else did Plato and company come up with?
Their studies mainly revolved around the soul and rebirth, the good and the bad, the nature of this world.
Chariot.
What?
I remember learning about Plato's allegory of the chariot. Something about the horses being the senses, and they're pulling the chariot, which you have to control with your intellect.
That's Rath Kalpana.
Ratha.
It literally means allegory of the chariot in Sanskrit.
They could have changed the name at least.
Sounds to me like someone got a copy of the Upanishads.
What do you mean?
These are all topics from the Upanishads. And the philosopher king as noble ruler, that's inspired by King Janak. He was known for being an ideal example of a spiritual ruler or philosopher king who was free from material illusion.
He's also in the Ramayana.
So Bhagwa, where do we start? What are we looking for?
I wanted us to look at these artifacts closer, see if we can find the link between the Vedic people and the Greeks.
You know, your nanny had told me once a story about Indra, with the lightning bolts and everything. And already at that time, that reminded me of Zeus, the Greek god, because that's what I was taught in school, you know? But as it turns out, the Greek gods are quite similar to the Vedic gods. And the Greeks also had 7 sages, the
Saptarishi.
Right, exactly. And look at this. The imagery of the serpents and the clothing. I mean, it's...
How can there be such peculiar similarities? Makes no sense. Let's look at what they were building before Alexander the Great.
Right, because the official story is that Alexander the super great, Alexander the amazing, conquered Punjab and brought the knowledge of architecture with him. But it makes no sense.
Why is that?
We know there was already some massive trade going on back then, right? I mean, the ancient Greeks were crazy about black pepper, and the Egyptians too, 1,000 years before that. So, India must have been already huge back then.
Well, let's see. If they upgraded our knowledge, they must have been building amazing things, right? Bhagwa, lead us to their most beautiful structure.
Well, This is it.
This is it?
They worked on their columns over time. This is their most advanced work.
Conquered Punjab.
The thing is, we can find columns like this in India because the Greeks were there and many of them took a liking to Buddhism. So, I mean, it makes sense that there would be some level of fusion happening.
But to say that the Greeks taught us, that's a major stretch. If they taught us, how is it that the best they could do is this basic design of a column? That barely is standing today. Look at any column from our temples in India. The intricacy, the knowledge of geometry, the display of excellence, cymatics. Why did the people who apparently taught us how to make everything make some nice looking ones themselves?
Or ones that are still standing strong. And let's not forget about the musical pillar carved to the musical scale. Or the hanging pillars. Or the suspension pillars.
Yeah, the jungly darkies who knew nothing somehow went on to take architecture to levels neither the Greeks or the Romans could even dream of. But they taught us. Look at all this. It's impressive because it's constantly glorified in media, in movies, in art, in books. But someone tell me how these crumbly ruins are more worthy of international recognition while our temples and monuments are rotting away slowly, unattended for millennia.
They're still standing strong, though. I can't really say the same about this guy over here. Oh, here's the Omphalo.
The what?
Omphalo means navel.
Oh,
The Greeks believed this was the navel of the world, or the center of the world.
oh, come on. That's clearly a shivling.
According to their mythology, Zeus launched two eagles from the two ends of the universe, and the eagles, flying at equal speed, crossed their paths above the area of Delphi.
Sounds like the Shiv Puran story to me.
And so the sky god placed the
Enough! Did they just do a copy-paste of our whole culture and stamped it as their own?
Calm down and smile.
Who were the Greeks before the so-called Dark Ages? Where did their languages come from? You know, their traditions and... I mean, something is definitely missing here.
Never mind.
What is it, Bhagwa? Kuch mila?
No, there is this thing I am reading right now. It's strange. I can't find any other record or book or anything mentioning these things.
What is it?
It's some book claiming that the Spartans were a Vedic army settlement in Greece, that they were a rebellious bunch and split off from the Vedic culture long ago.
Who's the author?
I detect a few presences.
What? How? We're in the middle of nowhere. Birds maybe, animals...
It's the gatekeepers.
What? Are you sure? How did they find us here?
We don't have time. We need to get out of here.
Okay. Maya, let's get back to the ship. Hurry.